Okay, we're going to be looking at number 14 right now. And number 14 is asking for the interval of decrease. So when we're doing increasing, decreasing, we look at the graph from left to right. Decreasing is where it falls from left to right. So right here it's rising, so that's increasing. But here it's decreasing. And that's not normally the issue for most students. They can identify that that is a decreasing interval. The issue is notating it. And so you notate it with the x values that it happens. So the first x value it starts happening is the x value of the vertex, which is 3. We don't use brackets for increasing and decreasing because you can't increase and decrease at a particular point. And it spans, so comma, on forever. This thing's going to keep decreasing, so on to infinity. Now, if that infinity is still confusing to you, imagine smushing the screen to the x-axis. The leftmost point would be 3, but then everything else would be covered, and this is infinity. Now let's look at number 20. Number 20 is not graphed for you, and it wants the range. Range is a set of y values that the graph encompasses. So I type this into Desmos, and I'm going to go ahead and write in that vertex is 2, -1. So when I start drawing, it takes it away. So that vertex is 2, -1, and that is super important to have when we're finding the range, because the range is the only diagnostic in which we notate with the y values. So we have to imagine smushing this red graph over to the y-axis. So if I start with the vertex because there's nothing below it. It's bounded below. If I smush that over, the smallest y value that this graph encompasses is -1. And it's going to encompass everything above it because this graph goes on and on forever, and that's infinity up there because your y values are getting more positive. Okay, so how do we notate range? Again, it's the only diagnostic that we use y values, and you go bottom to top. So your range is going to be bracket -1, that's the lowest y value, spans, comma, all the way to infinity. So there's your range. Infinities can't have a bracket. Remember that. They need a parenthesis because they're not a tangible number. They're a concept. All right, the next one I want to look at with you is number 21. It's the same graph, and it is asking its interval of increase. So I'm going to go back to this graph, and I'm going to erase this stuff. Probably having way too much fun erasing. It's always really satisfying. And then I'm like, I'm going to leave a little piece out like that and drive the students crazy. See, I could just leave it like that, then it would drive you guys crazy. Anyway, how do I find that interval of increase? I had to remind myself. Oh, goodness. All right, so increase. We look left to right. And increasing is where it is rising. Okay, so this is all falling. But starting with the vertex and to the right, it is increasing. Okay, so this is your increase. Now, we're back to having to notate with x values. So we go left to right. And what is the x value of the vertex? It's 2. So it's going to be 2 span, and it's going to go to infinity because we're looking at x values because it's going to keep increasing forever. Now, if that bothers you and you're still struggling with the whole notating thing, if I smush this up to the x-axis, it would be bounded on the left. And then so that goes up to the x-axis and this part would come down, this would keep going. And that is 2 to infinity.